when Lori and I were at a grand opening, or yeah, it was a grand opening. No, it wasn't. It was just at Cabela's in Kansas City, and somebody told me that Leavenworth was just 24 miles away. So we went to Leavenworth, and we looked for Behringer's because the store that Larry and Betty own, and we were looking for, you know, we'd like to get details of Hoyt's. We absolutely believe that that was where Hoyt started making knives in 1902 at age 13. And so meeting Larry and Betty, and just such sweet people, we just connected. It was really fun. We also got a tour of Leavenworth, but I was able to get out. They don't let you out of the car when you're going through there. Anyway, we just had a wonderful time together. Larry has got a wonderful presentation. I haven't seen it, but I know it's going to be good. So we're going to go ahead, and Larry, if you want to start, we'll go.
Thank you. Feel free to ask questions. I'm Larry Wise. My wife Betty. We own a store in Leavenworth, Kansas, named we're going to the business name of Behringer's, but we've pretty much established that's where Hoyt Buck got his start. The building that we are in has been there since 1863, so we're reasonably sure that Hoyt Buck walked those floors. I'd like to start with just a little bit of history, if you would, and this is
223.
You're right. This is when Chuck asked Betty and I to come and help with this. Why, I envisioned to just stand here and give out a few facts and answer questions, which, by the way, if you have questions, ask them as we go. But my wife and her daughter decided that I needed to do PowerPoint. And I said, what's that? Because when they said PowerPoint, the only thing I knew of was the front end of that bullet. That's the only thing I knew about PowerPoint. So we'll get started. A little bit of history of why Leavenworth was important and why the Bucks came there. Leavenworth was the gateway to the West during that time. And if anything of any activity happened west of the Mississippi, it went through Leavenworth pretty much. Custer marshaled out his troops to their demise there, and the post was established in 27, and it's still the oldest continuously operating military post west of the Mississippi. And today it's very important, even though it's one of the smaller military forts, or army forts, it's still extremely important. Of course, their main function back then was to keep the peace and keep things going. That's Colonel Henry Leavenworth. He's the guy that established the fort and got things up and running. And today, that's the only picture they'll let us take of the entrance to Fort Leavenworth. And the Command and General Staff College is there, and they usually the Command and General Staff College, Fort Leavenworth, is where they teach majors how to be generals and how to serve on general staffs. But they do that from around the world, and it's an honor for anybody from a foreign country to be assigned to this. It's a privilege, and to the point that every commanding officer in Desert Storm, which was George Bush Sr., was a graduate of CGSC. So the fort is still maintaining its primary history and keeping going. Also, it is the location of the only military prison in the continental United States. So there's prison number one. You want to go ahead and now, the city of Leavenworth was founded in 1854, which is a few years later. And there's the city seal, but that is the federal prison. Now, that's not the military prison, that's the federal prison. So that's the one that all the movies say you're going to Leavenworth, there's the building. I did not get Chuck inside of that one.
Thank you.
But we did go on Fort Leavenworth, him and Lori and I, and they built a brand new military prison, and the old one they tore down the insides and left the outside wall standing, and they're putting office buildings inside those walls. So we was able to drive. Chuck has actually been through the walls of the prison on Fort Leavenworth and returned within about 10 minutes. I let him out.
Didn't keep him, huh?
I
now have a record.
He has a well, we got witnesses to that too, don't we? And then it also we have like the neighboring city, which is, if you didn't know, they're just a street difference. It's, has the state prison there. So now we've got 3 large prisons. And that's what we have unfortunately become known for, instead of Hallmark Cards is headquartered out of Leavenworth. The Great Western Manufacturing Company, which manufactured all kinds of items for the expansion westward, but they are now making flour sieves that they transport all over the world. And so the prisons thing just kind of stuck with us. Yes?
Any idea what the population is there?
The city population is about 50,000.
Okay, so people live and work and play there.
Yes, yes. Mm-hmm. It's a tad bit inflated because they count the population of the prisons.
Oh, really?
They do that for tax purposes. But the county is the fastest growing county in the state of Kansas, so the county services well over 150,000. It's a clean, well-maintained city. They do a good job. In early Leavenworth, why, of course, being the gateway, why we had a lot of famous people go through there. Buffalo Bill Cody is who that is. Actually lived there for a time with him and his parents. His parents are buried in Leavenworth. But things like he was a Pony Express rider, which didn't last very long because the Telegraph closed that down. And the Anthonys, Susan B. Anthony, the lady on the dollar, she was, her family lived there. They were newspaper owners of the Leavenworth Times. The Harvey girls, Fred Harvey was had his headquarters there in Leavenworth for the Harvey girls for the trains. So
Was that a dancing troupe, the Harvey Girls?
No, not quite.
Sorry. Just wanted to get you off track.
Yeah.
It worked.
Not quite. They
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now it isn't.
the Harvey girls actually the Harvey girls had a very serious dress code, real serious, and they had to dress the arms and legs and necks had to be covered. They couldn't show any skin below here except for their hands.
That'd be kind of good today with all the tattoos.
Right.
That wouldn't work, would it?
They call it body art, but
Yeah.
sometimes I have trouble seeing that.
It's actually body graffiti.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's a good-
exactly.
Exactly.
Now we're going to get into a little bit of history of Behringer. There's the front of the store as it is now. That is John Behringer, who opened his first shop in 1859. And so that one and the next two burnt down. Then they moved into that one in 1863, and it's been there ever since. He came from Germany as a locksmith and gunsmith, but primarily blacksmith. So in the early years, there was no tools available or anything, so he had to manufacture his own tools and wrenches and all that kind of thing. And in the center of the front of the store, there was two double doors. And the building was only as long as the tan building. You can very slightly see the brick on the back of it. But the original building was only as long as the tan part, and there was double doors in the back. So they rolled in whatever they needed for repair in the front doors, repaired it, and rolled it out the back. They had a forge in there. They built for the state prison, the man that was contracted to build the locks for that couldn't keep up with the man fast enough, so they set up a little forge in the basement of that and produced over 200 locks for the state prison, casting in the basement. Don't ask me how they ventilated it. I haven't figured that out yet. I do know I made a serious mistake one time. About in the 70s, I had a large rifle that I wanted to fire, and I went down in the basement and fired it. And all the lights were running, but I couldn't see any of them. I couldn't see the end of the rifle. All that coal dust and everything just cleaned out of the rafters, and it was, you know, it was. I didn't even think about it. Well, I know better now, but it was quite a mess. So he manufactured a lot of his own things, and he became well known. And he since the Missouri River is only 6 blocks from the store, during the Civil War, why Missouri was a Confederate sympathizing state and Kansas was anti-slave, so he would manufacture some rifles for the Missouri militia, and then he would manufacture some for the Kansas militia. And that's how we figured that he kept the border ruffians at bay. Was whoever was needing a rifle at the time, he would appease them with 1 or 2 guns. Keep that going. The next picture here, that we chose to use this picture of Hoyt Buck because that's the most famous. That's the one that most people recognize. And so, as Chuck said, somewhere around 1900, 02, something like that, Hoyt was already focused in on working with steel and metal. So he apprenticed under the Behringers and got his fingers hot, his feet wet, or whatever the term would be on that. And he learned the metalworking trade, and from there, from there on about, I don't know, what, 1910 or 12 or...
Actually, just a couple of years.
Just a couple of years?
His dad died, and his mom took him to the Seattle area. Yeah. We haven't talked about that, but
yeah,
that's just a couple of years ago.
But it's, I started looking at that, and it says, they advertise, they said, well, he made, grub hose and looking for better steel, and the farmers wanted, and I'm thinking, that even then he was driven. He had to be driven. I mean, at 13 years old, that you want to work with steel the rest of your life. That's, I didn't know what I wanted to be till I was 30. So, but, he had to pick up everything. He had to pick up files, plowshares, rims off of wagons, anything that was higher grade of steel or harder, and work with it and play with it until he really figured out the process. So it couldn't have been just files or RASP. He had to pretty much use anything he could lay his hands on. So he, of course, we know he became a good metal worker, you know, just above average. Now,
Lucky Chucky.
Oh, that's gonna stay with you.
well, we decided that since every prisoner has their own prison name,
I hope you frame that and give him a picture of that. I mean, he needs that for his office.
That's really funny.
so we
That is funny.
we decided we'd put in the #1 most wanted with his given prison name. And that's about
Oh, America's Most Wanted.
yes, America's Most Wanted.
Yeah, you gotta put that on there, America's Most Wanted, Lucky Chucky.
I don't know, I didn't know I had shoulders like that, but.
Well, you had to
that's-
look tough back
That's
then.
really cool, yeah.
That is good.
Anybody have any questions?
Well, so you think he was there from 1902 to 4 or 5?
4, yeah.
4 or
And then he
5.
moved to Seattle?
Yeah.
And then he came south from there, huh, into San Diego?
In 1945.
And then he
San
went,
Diego.
and then came down into Old Town area.
Right,
Okay.
exactly. These folks were from San Diego, they knew all about San Diego, so Old Town is the old San Diego,
Yeah.
right next to the mission that was established there. You want to do a little question answer after? I'll do a little bit, and then, because we have about 10 minutes, if we can do that. So, Larry, have a seat.
I'm done.
Okay.
Thanks, Larry.
Okay, anyway, Lori and I were there, we went in, and while we were there, we went to the library. And have a seat, Larry. You can take over the payments in that seat.
Ouch.
But anyway, with the microfilm in the library, we were able to find out where Hoyt lived. You know, I think we talked about it.
Mhm.
We found about 3 addresses. We didn't really see what we thought was the house because the numbers were just off one, but it told us a couple of them were vacant lots, which were large part of people's yards. And it was fun driving around. It's really nostalgic for me to think that my grandpa, you know, walked those streets. One of the houses was a block down from Behringer's, and he could have walked there. So it was really cool. We also we found where Philip was buried, Hoyt's dad. So we went out to the cemetery. It was an unmarked grave. They said, well, it's right next to a Bill Clemens or something like that, you know. So we went and found Bill Clemens, and the spot right next to it was Philip. And that was Hoyt's dad. And then, so there was a big old oak tree, and I grabbed from off the ground a bunch of acorns to give them to the family, and then I lost them. So you know. Anyway, Hoyt came to San Diego in '45 and taught my dad how to make knives. And Dad mostly did the handle work where Hoyt would grind the blades. And they did use a lot of files out of Consolidated Vultee, which is that they made.
My dad worked there.
Did he? Oh, so okay. He might have known my grandpa. Sure, he's not that old.
Deceased.
So anyway, I do remember as a boy going fishing with my grandpa, and we were on a pier out there by the causeway between Mission Beach and Ocean Beach, and the bridge is gone now, but we were on a bridge, and I'll never forget, he went down and got some mussels off the base of the pier, the big old log pier, and he came up and ended up, you know, using them for bait, but he also, now this is gonna make you sick, but anyway, he'd gouge some out, put in his mouth, and eat them raw, and he says, Charlie, you want some of these? I said, yeah. No way. I was about 10. And so I remember that about my grandpa. I thought that I'd never do that. Just to move along, so I have a little bit of time. While they were living in Mountain Home, Idaho, this knife was made by my grandfather. It's the oldest one that I know of, about 1939. He made it for, he and Grandma, there was a picture of them in front of a little Assembly of God church down out there in the lobby. He pastored, and at the air base, all the young, I mean, most of these guys were 18, 19 years old, and they were learning how to be B-29 bombers, and pilots and gunners and all kinds of stuff. And so he made them a knife, and this plastic is from the canopies of some of the warplanes that in the scrap pile. So he was able to get hold of that at the Mountain Home Air Base there. Made this out of a file, and it was a little stiletto so that she'd have something to protect herself with. And she gave me this, which just blew my mind. So this is very significant because that was the workmanship of Hoyt. All of the knives in the back, I know it's hard to turn around, but all the ones on the right, Hoyt and my father made. Hoyt did the blade work, my dad did the handle work. And then when Hoyt passed away in 1949, where the wooden handles began, this is lignum vitae. My dad chose to go with lignum vitae handles. They're still, power hacksaw, like that carving knife, the tall ones upright. That was bandsaw blade, or not bandsaw, but hacksaw, power hacksaw. But the rest of those most of them are files. And then he started using, African ebony, Montana elk horn. And then we incorporated in 61, and we started using forgings, went to 440C steel, which files would rust overnight, but the 440C is rust resistant. It has about 14% chrome mixed in, and it's about 1.5 carbon, so you can make it really hard. Files are probably 1.6 or so. They're very hard because they're made to cut metal. 1963, we developed the folding hunter, and the oldest we have is the one way at the top. And I put that display together in 1970, and there's been other changes to the folding hunter, which is our absolute bestseller. It's a very popular knife, and it still is today. And it's gotten accolades from everywhere, being the knife that changed so much. We went out and bought 3 knives on the market, two Canadian knives and 1 American knife, and took all the best features together, put it all together, and that was a winner. And it still is. We probably produce about 2,000 of those a day, just that one model. So anyway,
Do you know a lot of soldiers carry those?
I know, yeah, and law enforcement did,
Yeah.
or do. I wanted to show you one other knife, and this is the knife that this is first shop. This is a prototype. It's got the actual flooring. Larry and Betty gave me, you want me to quit moving?
No, you're good.
Okay. Larry and Betty gave us some flooring that I know my grandfather walked on. It had about 13 or 14 coats of paint. And I wished I could have, kept some of that, because one of those layers had to be old Hoyt, or young Hoyt walking around on. But the wood in here is the flooring. It's a very soft wood. And the guys did a good job with some flames and made it look really old. And then we put, I think that's horn.
Mastodon ivory.
No, I don't think it is. I think it's horn. And then we inlaid a silver anvil in it, and it's got the anvil on the other side. The other side is a duplicate of this side. The fun thing was that my grandson Josh designed this knife. So the 5th generation, so 5 generations later, commemorating Hoyt, this is the new knife. The Behringer people, they're right here. Betty and Larry, they're going to have 15 of them, and I'm sorry, 25 was the last knife. And Cabela's bought the rest of them, and it's going to be about a $700 knife. So this is this is just a look at it, and this will sit up like that. We do a lot of knives for Browning Arms and Remington, and they have collectibles that are quite expensive. So we're the only company that can handle those as far as you know, anybody available to make them, because everybody wants it made in America. And by the way, we're bringing our stuff back little by little.
Yay!
Yeah. You know, the reason we went over was Walmart had asked, not to blame them, but they had asked for price points, and we couldn't do it in America. It was just too expensive. So we brought back the little Metro, which is very popular. In fact, right behind your head is a little wooden case. Oh, it's open right there. Those were all made in the U.S. And the next time I'll have them up here, but that's the first one we brought back, and actually we matched what it cost us from there. So we have some new automatic equipment that forms the handles, it mills and machines it. And you'll see, I don't know if you saw them on the tour.
Yeah, I saw them,
You
of course, saw the cutouts.
Yeah, cutting out about, I don't know, 50 or so at a time.
Yeah.
And so anyway, that's, lastly, this is a magazine from 1947 about profitable hobbies. Well, believe it or not, there's an article. Hoyt was interviewed in San Diego, and I should have it marked. This is a little different picture of Hoyt holding the Babylonian scimitar that he made in San Diego, which we used for our grand opening here. The actual original that he made was stolen out of my office years ago. I think it was an inside job, but we never were able to find it.
Oh, jeez.
But turning files into knives, and here, of course, his famous cut and a bolt thing. And there's some of his products that they laid out. He made all of those. But it's a neat story. I made a copy of this, one to a family, because I only have 100 copies. We can make more if we need them. As you go out, I'll be sure and give you one. Is there any questions? Anybody have anything that we didn't cover? Maybe you okay, Ron?
How about your dad? I mean, your dad was such an integral part. Al was such an integral part of this still going on.
Oh yeah.
I love your grandpa and everything, but your dad
Yeah.
was such a great guy.
Yeah, he was. We were in church. We used to go to Assembly of God Church in Ocean Beach, San Diego, and denominations really don't matter because God didn't create them. We did. Different ways of translating scriptures and stuff like that. I mean, they were all Christians. I mean, we love the Lord. But while we were at choir practice on a Thursday night, our pastor, Robert Wilson, was very business-minded, and he, after choir practice, he talked to my dad and he says, you know, you should actually get other people to help you build volume. You're going to literally keep your nose to the grindstone, and because you only make one at a time. And so Dad thought that was a great idea. I had no clue what it took to do it. So we ended up incorporating. The guy sat next to him in the bass section. He hawked his house for 10 grand, which was a lot of money, and this is 1961. And we and it's in the Buck book. I don't know if any of you have one. The story's in there, but that's where it started. I think that's what you're referring to,
Yeah,
Ronnie. That Dad got it to the point where we could produce and get into dealers, and he and Mom would get in their old Volkswagen camper, the scourge of the American freeway system, if you're going up a hill behind them. But they were so underpowered. But they would go to the different cities in the U.S. and you know, go ahead and I think it was mentioned the other day is rip a page out of the sporting goods stores for that community, and then that would be where he'd go around to the dealers and sell Buck knives. And I was back running the factory. I was a young guy then, and so it worked for us, and it just went crazy. And of course, the 110 was developed in 1963, and I think 64 we put out. It seemed like it was about 250 or 240, and they were pretty crude. And the next year 1,000, and the next year it started 10, 20, 30, 40,000 a year as it grew. So it was a neat success story. So, and we're still here. So, any other questions?
You just had a 6th generation born, right?
That's right, yeah. Tandra. Sarah's getting married this next Saturday. That's the second event we're going to have at our house.
Oh.
So my wife, she's pretty
Stressed.
ragged right now.
I
She's
bet.
very, but she's a lot easier now because now it's happening. And I hope you guys can come up because it's going to be a lot of fun. I got the 57 Chevs out, and Rhonda's going to drive the convertible, and we'll go down the cul-de-sac and come back if people wanted to or take pictures. But we're going to have sandwiches, a lot of watermelon, and a lot of, you know, I went out and got a 30 by 30 foot canopy and had a crew from Buck go out and set it up yesterday, and they had a lot of figuring out to laid it out all on the asphalt driveway, and finally got it up, and it looks really good. It'll show, it'll have a lot of shade, and it's on the lawn. And one thing about that, if people would carpool, I think we could handle probably, what, Ronnie, 60, maybe 70 cars. But that would be on the premises, otherwise it'll be a little further down the road, and we'd carpool or bring people up. So we're looking forward to it. And so would you
Thank
guys
very
like
much.
one of these?
Yes.
You Ronnie will save you.
Say,
Is Larry gonna pass out directions to your house?
Oh, you know what? I'm gonna have Karen make a little, because I think we forgot that. So without further ado, I guess we'll dismiss since it's 5
Thank you
minutes
so much.
past. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate it.